Welcome to LFC Transfer HQ, your ultimate source for all things Liverpool FC transfers. Like and subscribe for more football updates. Our first news is Liverpool threatened by 5 top European clubs in Marc Guehi transfer race. Marc Guehi is a free agent after his 35M deadline day move to Liverpool collapsed, and European giants are all over the England defender who will be a hugely sought-after player. Bayern Munich have added their name to the growing roster of European clubs vying for the signature of Marc Guehi. The England defender's deadline day switch to Liverpool fell through at the 11th hour when Crystal Palace decided to pull out. This has paved the way for Europe's elite to swoop in and attempt to secure Guehi on a free transfer once his contract runs out next summer. The German behemoth, Bayern Munich, is the latest club to monitor the situation surrounding the Palace skipper, who will be an enticing prospect as a free agent next summer. Spanish titans Real Madrid and Barcelona are also keeping a close eye on the unfolding situation, with both expressing significant interest, reports the Mirror. Italian powerhouses Inter Milan and Juventus are also keen on Guehi, who will be cognizant that his status as a free agent could land him a more lucrative contract. Foreign clubs can initiate talks with Guehi from January 1 and secure a pre-contract agreement, giving them an edge over Premier League sides. Guehi made it clear earlier this summer that he would either join Liverpool or depart as a free agent when his contract with Palace expires next year. This indicates he's not interested in negotiating a new deal, while Liverpool remains eager to snap him up as a free agent next summer. Liverpool had struck a deal, Guehi was undergoing a medical, and the transfer was nearing completion until Palace pulled the plug when chairman Steve Parish decided they hadn't secured enough reinforcements to keep manager Oliver Glasner satisfied. The collapse of the deal was a blow for Liverpool, marring an otherwise successful deadline day that saw them sign Alexander Isak. Despite this setback, they remain undeterred in their pursuit of Guehi and hope to lure him to Anfield, despite this week's disappointment. However, they are aware that they will face fierce competition from other top European clubs this summer. Despite his disappointment at the failed deal, Guehi remains dedicated to giving his all for Palace for the remainder of the season, and he was seen laughing and smiling during England training at St George's Park this week. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our second news is Liverpool transfer news as Michael Olise, top of list, and new Marc Guehi price emerges. Liverpool transfer news as the Reds could have Michael Olise top of their shopping list for next summer, while a new price has emerged for Marc Guehi ahead of January. The transfer window may have closed, but the fallout from a dramatic deadline day continues for Liverpool. The Reds of course closed out their summer business with the record signing of Alexander Isak after weeks of drama with Newcastle, but they could have had another new face through the door had Crystal Palace not pulled the plug on Marc Guehi's move at the 11th hour. Michael Olise, Bayern Munich. Liverpool could have Bayern Munich star Michael Olise at the top of its shopping list next summer, according to the Daily Mail. It's claimed that the Reds will be prioritizing finding a long-term replacement for Mohamed Salah in the next year or two, and the early signs are that Olise could be one of the frontrunners. Reports suggest the defender wasn't too happy with being denied his move to Anfield, although there are suggestions that his signing could be revisited in January. While there are claims that Liverpool may have already identified its top target for next summer, Morgan Rogers is also mentioned, although it is said that Liverpool is not currently planning anything for the Aston Villa star. Marc Guehi, Crystal Palace. Marc Guehi will be available for around $34 million, £25 million, in January, according to Football Insider, with Liverpool set to reignite its interest in the defender. After a $47 million, £35 million, move collapsed on deadline day earlier this week, Crystal Palace will almost certainly have to accept a reduced price if it is to sell Guehi in the new year. The England international's contract expires at the end of the current season, meaning the January window will be Palace's last opportunity to make any money on him unless he signs a new deal at Selhurst Park. Liverpool.com says, Palace would be very lucky to get that much for a player who, by that point, will only have 6 months left on his contract, and will be free to speak to foreign clubs about a pre-contract agreement if the option is there. You certainly wouldn't expect Liverpool to pay that much. If the Reds do revisit the deal, it would be a major surprise if they fork out $34 million for him. Of course, getting him out of Bayern wouldn't be easy. He made the Bundesliga's team of the season in his first campaign, so if he carries on like that, the Reds would almost certainly have to break the bank for another signing. That's if Bayern are even willing to negotiate, which is a big if. Liverpool.com says, Olise would be a great option as an heir to Salah. A left-footed right-winger still a few years away from his peak, that would certainly fit the bill. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our third news is club chief confirms Liverpool took third player from Newcastle this summer despite lower offer. Liverpool signed Alexander Isak from Newcastle and won the race for Hugo Ekitike ahead of the Magpies, but there was a third win for the Reds in between those deals. It wasn't just in attack where Liverpool got the upper hand over Newcastle in the summer transfer window. Parma CEO Federico Cherubini has claimed the Magpies were also after Giovani Leone, only for the Italian defender to opt for an Anfield move. Liverpool signed Alexander Isak from Newcastle on transfer deadline day in a record-breaking £125 million move. Eddie Howe's side had earlier looked to bring in Hugo Ekitike as a potential Isak replacement, but he also moved to Anfield before Isak joined him there on Monday. Newcastle were frustrated in their efforts to sign a number of other targets, with James Trafford joining Manchester City and João Pedro preferring Chelsea. And now it has been claimed that Leone is another who they tried and failed to land. I've always said that the club, along with the owners, wanted to keep Giovani, and he's always said he'd be happy to stay, Parma chief Cherubini told Gazzetta di Parma, via Parmalive. We even turned down an offer from Newcastle, which was more advantageous than the one Liverpool eventually made. When the Reds came forward, our plans changed, both because the offer was very attractive and because Giovani made it clear he was very happy to take advantage of this opportunity. On the one hand, it's obviously disappointing to have lost such a promising player, but on the other, there's pride in a club like ours and recognition for those who believed in this boy in unsuspecting times, when he'd only played a few games in Serie B. Leone was unveiled by Liverpool ahead of their Premier League opener against Bournemouth, having joined in a £26 million move earlier the same day. He was an unused substitute for the Reds' next game, a 3-2 win away at Newcastle, but has yet to make his debut for the club. The 18-year-old has also earned his first Senior Italy call-up, and could make his debut against Estonia on Friday. He is one of 5 Premier League players in the squad, with Manchester City new boy Gianluigi Donnarumma also involved, but Leone's Liverpool teammate Federico Chiesa continues his international exile. I'm very happy to be here. It's a really great sensation and I'm honored to be here, Leone told club media after signing for Liverpool. Yeah, a lot of excitement. I'm so honored. I was very happy about Liverpool being interested. When I saw this I said, wow, this is crazy. I'm very happy. If he doesn't feature against Burnley on September 14th, Leone could make his Liverpool debut in the Champions League. The Premier League holders begin their European campaign at home to Atletico Madrid 3 days after the Burnley trip. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fourth news is Michael Olise to Liverpool transfer update as Mohamed Salah replacement plan drawn up. Liverpool are already drawing up plans for future transfer windows, with Bayern Munich's Michael Olise still on their radar. Liverpool could launch a bid to sign Michael Olise as Mohamed Salah's replacement in the next 12 months. A transfer window of extravagant spending by the Reds has only just shut, with Newcastle United rebel Alexander Isak finally joining the likes of Hugo Ekitike, Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong in Arne Slot's squad. In total, Liverpool splurged more than £450 million during the summer window, a record for a Premier League club, while player sales have raised in the region of £200 million. While the next few windows are expected to be quieter for the Reds, they will still be active. One issue on the agenda will be Salah's long-term replacement. The Egyptian superstar is still going strong, but he is 33 and coming towards the end of his illustrious career. After months of speculation over his future, Salah eventually signed a new contract in April, tying him to the club until 2027. It could well be his final Liverpool contract, and the club will want his rather large shoes filled before he departs. One potential target is Olise of Bayern Munich, with the Daily Mail reporting that former Crystal Palace forward is near the top of their target list. It has previously been reported that the 23-year-old has a release clause in his contract that can be activated in 2026. Manchester City and European champions Paris Saint-Germain, along with Liverpool, are considering triggering it. According to reports in Germany, it has been suggested that Olise or Harry Kane will be sold by the Bundesliga giants next year. Olise, who only joined Bayern from Palace last summer, has made a flying start to the season with 4 goals in all competitions, while Kane has 6. The pair will face extra competition following the arrival of Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea, initially on loan, although Bayern have an obligation to buy if a certain number of appearances are reached this season. Chelsea initially pulled the plug on the deal hours after striker Liam Delap suffered a hamstring injury during Saturday's win over Fulham that is set to keep him out for 6 to 8 weeks. However, with Jackson desperate for his move to Germany to go through, the Blues instead recalled Marc Guehi from Sunderland. Following the move, Jackson told Bayern's website, "I'm really happy to now be part of this great club. Bayern is one of the best clubs in the world. Everyone knows the names of the legends who've played here and knows that this club stands for the greatest success. I've got big goals and dreams here and will give my all to help Bayern win further titles." Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Don't miss subscribe for more LFC Transfer HQ news. Our fifth news is Liverpool can add £108 million player in final transfer for Arne Slot's stunning new-look squad. Liverpool are linked with Morgan Rogers as a long-term successor for modern-day legend Mohamed Salah. Liverpool have been given an indication how much it may cost to sign Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa. The 23-year-old has been linked as a potential heir to Mohamed Salah, which would truly be the final step toward Arne Slot reshaping the club's squad into his own. Liverpool underwent major surgery in the recent summer transfer window with £446 million in total spent on new stars. The Premier League champions sent out the message they are intent on establishing an era of dominance with the business they conducted. Now their next 2 signings could further stamp down this long-term ambition. Marc Guehi is expected to be part of a continued chase following the collapse of his transfer from Crystal Palace on deadline day. The Reds could either land the defender for a discounted price in January, or wait to see if he is a free agent come next summer. The England international could play alongside Virgil van Dijk until the captain's Anfield contract expires in 2027. Guehi would be able to then fill the void the Dutchman leaves alongside Ibrahima Konate, were he to pen a new deal beyond next year, or even long-term prospect Giovani Leone. Then, according to a report from the Daily Mail, the next step for either summer 2026 or 2027 would be to recruit a long-term successor to Salah. It is going to be a gargantuan task for Liverpool's decision-makers to find someone who could step into the place held by the club's third-highest all-time goal-scorer, but as is the case with Van Dijk, Salah's contract also runs out in 2027 as things stand. Although claimed to be played down by those inside the walls of Anfield, Rogers is a name who simply cannot be dismissed, as there is no telling the direction that will be taken at this extremely early stage. The 23-year-old has become hot property over his spell at Villa, which is approaching 2 years. A West Bromwich Albion academy product who was given a chance at Middlesbrough by Manchester City before his big break arrived, Rogers has made 73 appearances under Unai Emery and has returned 17 goals and assists apiece. Crucially, he has a track record of being effective in both the Premier League and Champions League. Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz's arrivals this summer have proven Liverpool are prepared to lay down large sums for any player they deem necessary for their project, and Rogers could become the next 9-figure purchase if he keeps on proving his worth at his current club. The CES Football Observatory, which uses numerous factors to establish an estimated transfer value for a football club's most valuable player, places Rodgers' value already in the bracket of €108 million, £93.6 million, to €125 million, £108.3 million. Stay tuned for more updates on LFC Transfer HQ, transfer moves, player signings, and latest news. Our last news is Arsenal can copy Liverpool with incredible spending spree after £1.8 billion financial boost. Arsenal could be about to emulate Liverpool with a sensational spending spree. Arsenal could copy Liverpool's transfer strategy next summer after landing a significant financial boost. It was a productive window for the Gunners, who welcomed 8 new players to the Emirates Stadium before Monday's deadline. They finally solved one of their biggest issues by signing a prolific striker, with Victor Gyökeres arriving in North London from Sporting. Another highlight was the capture of Guehi Olise, who had looked set to join Tottenham just hours before Arsenal swooped to hijack the deal. Mikel Arteta also improved his midfield options with the signing of Martin Zubimendi after many months of negotiations. In the final hours of the window, they strengthened in defence with a loan-to-buy deal for Piero Hincapié. Arsenal ended up spending around £254 million on 8 new signings, which they hope will lead them to Premier League glory this season. However, it was nowhere near as much as defending champions Liverpool splashed in the transfer market. The Reds parted ways with £418 million, just 1 year after failing to make a single summer signing in Arne Slot's first season. They smashed the British transfer record on 2 occasions, initially with Florian Wirtz before landing Alexander Isak in a £125 million deal. Arsenal could be set for a similar outlay next season, with owner Stan Kroenke receiving a huge financial boost over the last 12 months. He has increased his fortune by around £1.8 billion, according to Football Insider, bringing his personal wealth up to a staggering £17.28 billion. It means Kroenke is now the 102nd richest person in the world. It remains to be seen if the 78-year-old will plunge even more of his wealth into Arsenal next summer. The North Londoners have typically been conservative spenders until recently, with Arteta turning them into genuine title contenders. Any increase in transfer spending will, of course, need to stay within the financial limits imposed on Premier League clubs. In recent weeks, there have been suggestions in some quarters that Arsenal could be sailing close to the wind. However, football finance expert Stefan Borson recently insisted the Gunners have nothing to worry about, saying, they're able to spend because financially they've been very successful over the last few years. They have been quite cautious in the way that they've spent. I think towards their fans they've suggested that they've got PSR restrictions. I don't think that's ever really been true, and they're going for it. I think most of the league at the top is feeling the strain of competition, and I think people have come to the conclusion if they don't spend, you're not going to win the biggest prizes. So, I think people have got slightly carried away this summer. I think that the spending is really quite incredible. Thanks for watching. That's all for today's transfer update. But the transfer window never sleeps, and neither do we. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for the latest Liverpool FC transfer news, rumors, and confirmed deals. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update, because at LFC Transfer HQ, you'll never walk alone.